Sunday, Sunday, Sunday. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of True Story Live. And tonight's episode, we're going to, normally we would say open topic, open discussion, but instead of that, we're doing game night again. And tonight it's the original the original table topics, questions to start great conversations. And from what I understand, some of these questions aren't going to be as deep as some of the other games that we've played, but it is still a good way to start conversations. And if you didn't read the short little write-up, the reason we're doing this is because Glen has a lot of stuff going on, and he needs a little break, and we certainly understand that. And so he's still going to be here this week, and we'll find out if he's going to be able to be here next week. But we're just taking a little break from the series. And so we'll get into that in just a minute. We'll do our normal introductions. My name, for those of you that haven't been here before, is Jason, and I'm the host of this broadcast. And with me, I have three amazing people that, again, show up every Sunday at 8 p.m., and I'm greatly appreciative of that. I'm sure I could do some kind of broadcast without them, but it wouldn't be this. And I'm grateful to have them. So
I have to interrupt and say, Brenda! Brenda's here.
Oh, Brenda.
Oh, hey, Debbie. Sorry, didn't interrupt. I just got excited.
That's okay. That is exciting. Brenda, for those of you who never met Brenda, Brenda was my original co-host when we started way back on Blog Talk. And she moved over with me to YouTube. And I forget how long she was actually there, but she took a break for the summer because she has other responsibilities. Who would imagine that would be the case, of course. But and she found a replacement, which happened to be Jenn. So she has been with True Story Live since the beginning.
I like to say that she's kind of our matchmaker.
She is kind of a matchmaker.
Sorry if I blew your eardrums out, Brenda. I just got really excited.
No, that's okay. We're glad to have Brenda here. So if you haven't met Brenda, introduce yourself in the chat and make her feel welcome, please, guys. We appreciate that. And Brenda, you're welcome. Glad you're here. All right. So Jenn, since you already kind of spoke up, take a minute to say hello to everyone for us, please.
All right. Scrolly. All right. First in the gate was Okie Grower. He's like first.
Sorry, babe. I meant say hello to the peoples.
Well, the peoples are more important than me. Good to see everybody. It's been a good day, beautiful day outside, even though it was hot as mess.
It was.
Glad to be here. Excited about having some discussions about the show with everyone in the chat, and also doing this card game. So it's going to be a fun evening. We'll see where it goes. I can't wait to get. What does Nez usually say?
Hip deep.
Yeah. I was waiting for her to chime in. You left me hanging, Nez. Okay. Good to see you guys.
Funny.
Glad to be here.
Well, let's introduce Nez next, or otherwise known as Marisa. And she has her own channel. For those of you that do not know, go and visit her. She does art and singing, and has a real good rapport with the chat, and a lot of people that are here in the chat are initially friends of hers and become friends of ours here at TSO. And we're glad to have her. Nez, take a minute to say hello to everyone, please.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here on Sunday. I'm looking forward to getting into what we're discussing tonight, and I think we're going to talk about the show and things we might like to see discussed, and people's thoughts on things such as that. And we've got a card game to play, so that should be fun as well. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you to everybody who may be watching but not participating in the chat. And thank you to everybody who catches the replay. And if you could, please take a moment to share the stream out on your social media, if you're so inclined. Thank you so much. I will be taking some time to throw a few links in the chat. I know some of my friends like to have their links shared. If you would like your link shared in the chat, please let us know. And if you do not want your link shared, also please let us know, and we will respect your wishes.
Sure
That
will.
being said, hello everybody. Hello John Boy, Greg, Miss Southern Belle, everybody who's coming in. Hello Okie. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Marisa. Appreciate that. Last but not least is our friend from Australia, Glen. Glen, take a minute to say hello to the peoples.
Hi everyone. That's it. No,
All
hi
right.
everyone. It's all good.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we get going with the game, we talked a little bit before the show, and we would like to put something out there for our listeners, both the ones that come into the chat and those who just listen. We're looking for new ideas of the direction that TSL might go. I'm sure a lot of the things that we already do will stay the same, but as far as topics are concerned, as far as the things that we discuss on the broadcast, it's not that we don't like the direction the channel is headed, but we always want to branch out a little bit. And we have done this in the past. We've asked the people in the chat, our audience, to put up suggestions for topics. I want to put out there again that if anyone wants their story read on True Story Live, that I would love that. I've always wanted that. That's the way I initially started the broadcast to begin with. I just couldn't get people to share their stories with us. So that is always still on the table for you if you want to write your story down, and we would read it. And if you're a woman, would rather have one of the ladies read it, we're open to that. And if you'd rather have one of us guys read it, we're open to that as well. We'll work it out with you. But we would love to tell your story and then have a discussion about it after. Also, topic ideas for the show moving forward. If you feel like the things that we talk about, maybe they're getting a little stale. I'm not saying that's what you think, but we're putting it out there. We just want to know what your ideas are. What would you like to hear us discuss on True Story Live? What direction would you like to see the channel go? And you could very much be a part of that. And we want you to be a part of that. We've always wanted the chat and the listeners to join us in the chat, of course, but also to join us with ideas. Also, if you have, if you'd like to do a write-up like we do, Marisa does those now, and we've had a couple other people in the past do their own version of a write-up. And so if you have an idea and you would like to put something together for a write-up for one of the shows that we do, we are open to that. If you feel like, well, hey, I don't know what format and all that, well, you don't have to worry about that. We understand that maybe you've never done this before, but we would help put it into a format that would fit in nicely with what we're already doing. And also, again, it might be another way to go in a different direction to use your ideas for the way the write-up should go. So basically, we're open to pretty much anything. And I'm going to open up to the floor if anyone wants to add to what I've said or correct anything I've said. Let's hear from Marisa. Marisa, did I miss anything? You want to add anything to what we're trying to ask the listeners?
I think you pretty much summed it up. And I think it might be worth trying if we all threw out a few of our own ideas as well as asking people in the chat. I'm sure we all can at least scratch up a topic or something that we haven't covered that we might like to see covered here.
Yeah.
I can think of a few.
Yeah, put them in the chat.
I'll wait and see. I will. But let's see what the people have to say. I would love to hear what people would like to see discussed.
Perfect. Thank you, Marisa. What about you, Jen? Do you want to add anything or?
You mean ideas for topic discussion?
No, just on what we're offering to everybody. Did I cover it or?
I think you did. Yeah, you covered it really nice. Some people who might not be really into writing, maybe they have a cool topic idea, but they wouldn't know how to put it into a write-up, and one of us could take it or we could work on it together. There's all kinds of ideas, all kinds of ways we can come at this.
Yeah, we just want to. Glenn said, throw it up. Well, I'm paraphrasing what he said, but throw it up against the wall and kind of see what sticks. And I like that. I like that idea. Thank you, Jen. Glenn, what about you? You want to add anything to what I've said?
I'd like some feedback as to whether people really like to have complex, thought-provoking, even confrontational type questions, or whether they're more light. Because I'm not good at light, but I'm good at confrontation,
right?
So to speak. Not confrontation per se, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Really trying to evoke people to think and look within rather than look outside.
Okay.
But some feedback as to if people think it's too heavy, I'd like to, or too light, I'd like to know about it.
Right.
Yeah, adjust accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think then it becomes that like each person here has their own different skills and talents, and some work better on light, some work better on heavier stuff.
Right.
So I think it's horses for courses. But if we know what sits well, and it would be good feedback.
Sure. Well, Bubba News says, Cripps, I guess it depends on what direction you want the show to go, digging in deeper versus keeping it light, etc. I don't know. So that fits along with what you just said. So that's what we want to know from you guys. Even if it's, maybe one week we do a deeper topic, the next weekend we, do something lighter. We're okay with any of that. We just would like to hear from you guys. So over the next week or so, the next week, if you want to put it in the chat, that's great. If you want to send us an email and put your words down, that's okay too. Annie J's Crafts and Laughs says, I just subbed, always wanted to write my story. Well, Annie, I know you just subbed, but you're welcome to write your story. We would love to have it. And this is also a good way to get to know people better too. If you are willing to tell your story, whatever the story is, doesn't have to be, quote unquote Christian. It doesn't have to be atheistic. It doesn't have to be anything. Just your story, whatever your story. You can tell a story about whatever you want, or a topic about whatever you want. There's no bad ideas. So just, like I said, just think about it for us, and we'll talk about this again in the middle, and we'll talk about it at the end because we know people come and go. So we'll dive into this more in a little bit, but we're going to get started with the game. But first, Jen, there's quite a few people in the chat, and I know that Marisa already said hello to a few people, but let's pretend like we're starting over and just say hello for us.
All right. I'll do bottom to top this time.
All right.
Conscious Evolution Channel's here. Hey, Okie Grower. Nez is in the house, also on panel. Brenda Z, our old friend Brenda. So great to see her. Rachel Menifee's here. Annie J's Crafts and Laughs. Love that name.
Love it too.
Bubba News. Did I say
News?
Rachel Menifee? Rachel Menifee.
Yeah.
I don't know if I caught her. John Boy Art is here. Just subbed to his channel. Love meeting other artists. Miss Southern Belle. Let's see.
Wisconsin Greg.
Oh, Wisconsin Greg. Yes, don't want to forget Wisconsin Greg. And I think I got everybody.
John Boy Art. Yeah. Miss Southern Belle. Bubba News. Yep.
Glen too. Debbie S.
Glenn, yeah.
All right. I think I got everybody. Sweet.
Well, that's a great start. We got 14 people in the chat right now. That's awesome, especially at the beginning. Usually we have more toward the end than the beginning. Cher just popped in. Cher says hello. Hello, Cher.
Hey.
We're welcome. We're welcoming you. We're glad
we're sharing our welcome with Cher.
Sharing our welcome. Yep. All right. So, Jen, tell everyone a little bit about the game, and then we'll get started. I like it when Jen reads the questions, and then each one of us can answer, and we'll go from there. And by the way, when we ask these questions, please share your answers in the chat if you'd like to. We would love to read them out loud so that everybody can hear. Or if you just want to put them in the chat and you don't want them read, just indicate that to us. Okay. Go ahead, Jen.
All right. So this particular game is called Table Topics. They're coming out with a lot of these different conversational kind of, it's not really a game per se. You don't get points. Well, maybe next time we'll do points.
Yeah.
The best answers, but it's just conversation prompts.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes these have a mixture of like deeper things and some a little more, not surfacey. That's not the right word.
Yeah.
A little more light
Mm-hmm.
than others. This isn't as deep as some of the other ones that we've done. I want to say one of the ones we did was called a card deck called Delve.
Yeah.
Which I'd like to get because I only got a couple of examples off the internet
Right.
because it was going to take too long to get it shipped.
Yeah.
And then the other one, what was the other one called? Therapy in a Box.
Therapy in
Yeah.
Yeah, we did buy that one, and we went through all the.
We did go through it pretty
Yeah.
quick because
Yeah.
there was like 1/4 of it that was things that you physically do if with
Right.
your within a group that you're with,
Right.
you know, person
Yeah.
to person. And there's another. There's a lot of these. Like I was saying, one of them is questions for humans.
Yep.
And they have a bunch of different kinds, like one's for teens, one for adults, one for couples, all that kind of stuff. So that would be a fun one to get into as well. So we will see where this goes.
Before you opened the box, so I only saw one question so far, and I thought it was a good, and I've been thinking about it ever since I saw it. So it may be a lighter question, but the question was, what do you like about your hometown? And then so I started thinking about the answer to that, and I was thinking, well, what's a hometown? Because I have the town that I was born in, that I only lived for a year. I don't consider that my hometown.
Guess it would be where you spent most of your life.
Yeah. Yeah. Or a place that is hometown to you, even if
Yeah.
you didn't, even if you live somewhere else longer. And for me, that is Gladwin, Michigan. And I would answer that way and go on about that a little bit. But that's the only one that I saw. So what are we going to start with, Jenn? Sorry to interrupt there.
We could start with that one if you want.
Okay.
What was it again?
It was what do you like about your hometown or something like that.
Huh.
Asking about it was on the outside of the box.
What do you like about your hometown?
Well, so as I said,
Can you pick one? Or is it going to be like 50?
Well, it could be 50, but it's more of a feeling than anything else, and that's what I want to share.
Yeah.
So Gladwin, I did live there a couple times when I was probably 4 or 5. When my parents were struggling financially, and they had to live with my dad's parents, and that's who lived there. And the house was very special to me and to all the other cousins that would visit them. But I was the first, and Shannon was the second. So we were the first ones to get to spend time there. And my grandparents were very special people. They're still special. They're just not here on the earth anymore. And they breathed love and life into my life. So when I didn't live there anymore and I lived other places, I would always look forward to going back there. And I consider that my hometown. And the town of Gladwin itself, it's not spectacular. I mean, they used to have a Little Caesars. I think now it's Hungry Howie's, and they have a McDonald's. But one of the cool things they have is this really great ice cream shop. It's called the Corner House, and they would take us there as a treat sometimes. And it's they have really good fresh ice cream and places to sit down, and especially in the summertime in Michigan, you go there and get some ice cream, and it's one of my favorite things. I would go out of my way, even if there's no reason for me to go to Gladwin now that my grandparents have passed. I would stop at the Corner House and have an ice cream, and I get this feeling when I'm there. It's just a feeling of being home, and I think that says hometown more than places I've lived for longer. I feel more tied to that place than I do the place I've lived the longest. So that's all I'll say. So it'd be Gladwin, Michigan for me, and it's a place I've lived a couple times as a youngster, and I moved back there for my senior year. So anyway.
Cool. Ice cream.
Oh yeah, it's really good. I'd like to take you there someday.
I would say Williamsburg would be considered my hometown because I spent most of my life there. I would say was it my favorite thing or the best thing about it? What was the question?
Yeah.
What you like best about your hometown?
What do you like about your hometown?
Gosh, there's a handful of things. For one, I was going to say the cheese shop sandwiches, but
Oh yeah.
I'll say the history. The history in Williamsburg, Virginia is really rich. Colonial history and Jamestown settlement and just the area itself and some of the buildings. And I like that it's steeped in history.
Yeah.
My short answer.
Okay. What about you, Marisa?
I was born in Bertrand, Michigan. I was born at home. I got there before the ambulance did. My mother was an RN, thankfully. Back then, growing up in the 70s, I had a beautiful hometown, rural, some mom and pop businesses, not a lot of commercialism, pretty low key and relaxed atmosphere. And I enjoyed that, and I'm glad it was that way for my childhood.
Yeah.
But since then, it has evolved, or should I say devolved, into a hideous conglomerate of corporate cluster effery, to be quite honest. I don't even recognize it anymore. And
Wow.
it is just megamorphed into something I really don't want any part of.
Wow.
So I miss the hometown that used to be. I don't care for what it's become.
Yeah. I get it.
Well, that's a good answer.
I get it. Well, thank you for that. What about you, Glenn? Hometown.
Brisbane, Queensland, Australia. Not far from where Billy lives, Nez. Just down the highway. So, but now we live in a second home, which is here in a little town, about 1,200 people, about 3 or 4 hours northwest of Sydney.
Sure.
And it's clean, it's beautiful, nice, peaceful, touch wood, very little crime, maybe a bit of drugs down the other end of the town somewhere, but not too bad. So it's quite delightful. I mean, it's the only difficult part is probably there can be at times lack of services because you're out in the bush a bit, but you get round it. So they've got an 18-hole golf course here. They've got an Olympic swimming pool. They've got a hospital just down the road. We've got doctors. We've got We've got pretty much everything we need, unless we need something more sophisticated.
Right.
Then you've got to go further afield.
Sure.
But it's beautiful, to be honest. I really do love it here.
All right.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. So that's everyone answered that one. So what's next, Jen?
Okay, this is a good one. If you decided to go on a spiritual journey, where would you go and what would you do?
Spiritual journey.
I'll go first.
All right.
I would love to go to New Zealand.
Okay.
Part of it spiritually would be I so connect with nature.
Uh-huh.
And after seeing, certain movies filmed over New Zealand and the pictures, and then we get to hop over and see Glen afterwards.
Yeah.
But I just would love to go visit there. That'd be really fun.
I can tell you all the places to go in New Zealand.
Oh, sweet.
I've been there a few times.
I knew it.
Yeah.
Get the inside scoop.
We'll put you out with the midges.
Hey. What is that?
Yeah. What is that?
Is that the hobbits?
No, midges. The little shitty things that sting you, bite you.
Oh, crap.
Like Scotland, you go in the summertime and they just hoard. They're after blood and they're coming for you.
Oh, crap.
Wow. Are they like stink?
Are they like mosquitoes?
No, well, they're not mosquitoes. They're like little tiny insects that just bite like crazy, and you come up in red wheels.
Oh, we have
red wheels.
Yeah, we have those, and I mean, they may not be the same thing, but we have they're like flies, but they bite.
Is it like the no-see-ums?
No, these you see, they act like yellow jackets. Like when a yellow jacket
jeez.
gets around your head, they don't leave. They keep buzzing around your head. And these things
Oh,
do that
crap.
too, and they bite or sting. They're not
yeah.
as painful as a
And
yellow jacket.
it's a hurting sting too. Like it itches, but it also hurts. Yeah.
Yeah,
I hate those.
Yeah, it might be horse flies, Okie grower. I think they called them. I forget what they called them there though, but they're a pain.
I'll be
They
right back,
really
guys.
are.
Yeah, these are tiny. They'll go through fly screens and stuff.
Oh, okay.
They're little bastards. They're not horse flies, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So interesting. Okay. Deer flies. Yes, Wisconsin, Greg. They look like house flies. They're a little bit bigger than house flies. They're usually black. Sometimes they have a little coloring on them. And they just, when they find you, they just fly around your head and face, and they try to sting you. And if you're in the water, because that's what would happen, you go in the water swimming, and they'd find you out on the water, and you'd go under the water and come back up, and there they were waiting for you when you came back up. They're just a nuisance. Anyway, so spiritual journey. I'm not sure where I would go for a spiritual journey, but I've always wanted to go to Europe. I want to visit England. I don't care as much about France, but England and Ireland and Scotland. I'd like to visit those three places. But believe it or not, based on what Glen has shared about Japan, I would like to go to Japan one time in my life. I would like to see the blooms. What do you call them?
Cherry blossoms.
Yeah, I think those are beautiful pictures, and they just give me a feeling. And I would like to go there. And also, he talks about how pleasant the Japanese people are. I would like to see that. I would like to experience that, and the food. And he's talked a lot about the food as well, and I would like to take part in that. So that's mine. What about you, Nez?
I don't think you have to go anywhere to take a spiritual journey, because living your life every day is a spiritual journey. But that being said, I'd like to go to Australia. I'm going to have some kind of Holy Ghost fit as soon as the plane lands in Australia safely. And you can't get much more spiritual for that. I will be thanking God. Oh, my Lord, I'll bring my tambourine. It's going to be a rocking time. Oh,
Tambourine.
man.
I could see it too.
I'll be thankful to get to be there, to get to see Billy, to get to see Glen, whether he likes it or not. It's going to be a lot to be thankful for. So, again, I don't think you have to go anywhere to do a spiritual journey, because you do that every day. But where I want to go, that would be Australia.
Okay. Now, Glen, he's been a lot of places, but if you had the freedom, let's say that Sandra was able to take a trip and you guys could go anywhere again or for the first time, where would you go?
I don't look at it like that. I'm a bit more inclined with Nez. I just go, and if the spiritual aspect of it presents itself, I'll embrace it, but I don't search it out. But if you said what is probably the most spiritual place I'd been to, it's at Mount Koyasan in Japan in winter.
Oh, yeah.
I've spoken to you about it before.
You have, yeah.
It's Buddhist. It is absolutely amazing.
Sure.
The peace and calm there is deafening, so to speak.
Yeah.
Wow, cool.
It's just off the planet. So there's been quite a few others, but that's the one that stands out. So I just think, live your life, and it will come to you.
Okay.
Just be aware of it.
Sure.
Just embrace it if it comes, and don't sort of shunt it off with your elbow. Oh, well, that's not really important, because it is. I think it is life changing in many respects.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the part that threw me off was the spiritual part. Like, there's plenty of places I would like to go, but I'm like you. I don't feel like I need to seek any spiritual I don't need to go on a trip in order to be spiritual. I agree with Nez on that, and I agree with Glenn on that. It did kind of throw me off a little bit. I'm not sure what would be a spiritual journey. I think I know what the card means. I think, it's like eat, pray, love, or whatever. I mean, it's like you have to reinvent yourself and go on this trip and eat food and seek spiritual guidance or whatever. I don't feel like I'm very content spiritually. Doesn't mean I'm not going to continue to learn more and grow and all of that. I wouldn't have to go somewhere to find that. So, just like any question, I think you can have it mean what you want it to mean. And for me, it means where would I go if I could. I would add to that Australia is definitely on the list, but only because of Glenn and Sandra. If they didn't live there, I don't know that I would have any desire to visit there. But my mom's been, and she had good things to say about it, except for they didn't have ice for her Diet Pepsi. That's pretty much all she talked about. People looked at her like she had 3 heads when she asked for ice in her Diet Pepsi. I'm sure you've heard that story, Glenn.
Oh, I have. She laid it on me so many times. Oh, where's that? I don't know whether she used the F word, but you can't get ice in this place.
Right. Right.
You can actually get ice. They have it at... You know what she'd do? She'd go to a window like at McDonald's or KFC or somewhere and say, Can I have a cup of ice, please?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I shake my head in disbelief. I'm like, then I'd go into these, I shouldn't digress, but I'd go into these like, what do you call them, gas stations?
Yeah.
And they have like these soft drinks, what do you call them?
Fountain drinks, yeah.
Yeah, fountain drinks. Not do they have a little cup like in Australia, they've got a bucket.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Oh my gosh.
There's a pound of sugar in one hit.
Well, yeah, not for Diet Pepsi, but yeah, I get what you mean. I mean, they have like 7-Eleven here has the big gulp and the super big gulp.
Oh my gosh.
And they're huge. They're huge. Anyway.
I could wash the car with that amount of fluid.
Sure.
Oh, unheard of here. No, we don't do that.
Right. All right. Dana's asking about the beeping noise. Sorry about that, Dana. So it's Glenn's headset. He sometimes tries to mute so it doesn't make that noise. But,
yeah, that's why it keeps going away because he's muting.
Yeah, so sorry about that.
It's my hard drive system. For my backup system in the cupboard, one of the hard drives has failed. I've got a replacement, but it's not telling me which one is the problem. So I've got to take it to Jonathan's. That's it.
Yeah.
For him to diagnostic it for me. But at the moment, it just beeps to tell me there's a fault. So,
yeah.
Yeah, Dana said he has one that beeps too, and he wasn't sure if it was his or somebody else. He actually said, "I think it might be the aliens coming to get me." They're landing.
That's it. Sorry about the beep.
By the way, Dana mentioned that he's on Facebook, and Dana, I sent you a message on there. I went and found your channel. Of course, there's no way to be friends with your channel, it looks like, but I sent you a message for what that's worth. I was able to find your page on Facebook, so we can connect that way too if you have interest in that. So there that is, and that goes for everyone. Anyone that's on Facebook. My full name is Jason Cripps, and I didn't look to see if there's more than one. Maybe there is, but I have currently I have a picture of a lighthouse, so that's me, and I would friend anyone who sent me a request from the chat. Be more than happy to. Okay. All right. I think everyone answered that one. What's up next, Jen?
All right. Is it more essential to develop beliefs or gain knowledge?
Ooh. Anyone want to go first? Because if you don't, I will. Read it one more time so I understand the full.
Yeah, it says, is it more essential to you to develop beliefs or gain knowledge?
Gain knowledge. Now, if you would have asked me that 6-7 years ago, I probably would have answered differently. Hello, Bobby Meyer just popped in the chat. We're glad that you're here. Bobby. I would have thought that beliefs were more important, but I've come to believe that a lot of beliefs are wishful thinking, unless they're based on knowledge. I think knowledge cements it as more than just a belief. It's something you know. It's in the word knowledge. So for me, rather than just, I think beliefs are great. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with beliefs, but there have been things I believed that as I kept digging and digging, I found that there wasn't a whole lot of facts. And, me growing up in Christianity, we're just told, well, just believe. And I have come to really, really discern that you can't make someone believe anything. Either you believe it or you don't. And that's just my opinion. I would rather know something to be true than just believe it. And some things you can't. So belief does play a huge part in a person's life. It plays a huge part in my life. But if given the choice, I'd rather have the knowledge than just belief. That's my answer.
I would say I can't separate the two.
Oh, okay. You
Well,
want to say?
Maybe I could.
Okay.
Ah, crap. Will come back to me. Somebody else go next. I'm still pondering.
What about you, Glenn?
Could you please read the question again?
Yeah. So it says, is it more essential to develop beliefs or gain knowledge?
I would, if I replace the word beliefs with faith, as in faith not necessarily being Christian, faith can be any connotation that you want to apply to it, I would say they're indistinguishable. I'd say they each contribute equally.
All
So
right.
you gain knowledge from faith and you gain faith from knowledge in the way I'd see it.
Sure. That's lovely. I love it.
There you go.
Nez, you're up next on this one.
I believe that it's important to gain knowledge because when you do that, that is going to hopefully teach you some things you didn't know before and thusly shape what it is you believe. And those things can change over time or grow or deepen and broaden. Wow. So while belief is very important, I think the importance is about the same, but if you extend your knowledge, that's going to affect your belief, make it stronger, what have you.
Yeah. I agree, Nez. Bobby Meyer says gain knowledge. And we're not forgetting about you, Jen.
No, you're good.
There's more people in the chat, so it goes by faster, which is not a bad thing. So Bobby Meyer says gain knowledge. And let's see, Burnt Flowers Fallen says, cheers, everyone. Knowledge is power. And let's see what anyone else. Brenda says, I say both. So Brenda wants belief and knowledge. I think that makes sense. And then Rachel Menifee says, I would solidify my belief with knowledge of the truth. What a great answer.
Great answer.
Fantastic.
Ooh, I'm stealing.
All right. Brenda continues, I'm going with the biblical answer. Seeking knowledge can be like chasing the wind. Solomon sought knowledge, but faith is the most important. Okay, great. Thank you, Brenda. All right. Jen, you're up on this one.
It's funny how this is worded because it says develop beliefs or gain knowledge. I do think for me it goes hand in hand.
Okay.
I think I know there was a time in my life that I believed in God before I actually got into studying the Word of God.
Right.
But that was, part of it was being brought up in the church, but a big part of it was me seeing God work in my life in these miraculous ways, especially hindsight.
Right.
But as I've gained knowledge in my older years, it has bolstered my belief.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, for me, it really is kind of intertwined, maybe not evenly, but almost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Something you mentioned, it made me think. So when I grew up, I feel like I believed because my family believed, and they told me about God, and I don't regret that at all. But like you, Jen, it wasn't until later. I mean, I did have a Christian school, and I was reading and memorizing scripture and all that. So it wasn't that I didn't get any of it, but it wasn't until much later that I really started reading for myself and making sure that I didn't just believe what my parents or my grandparents or the school that I went to or my churches, the many churches I've been involved with over the years. I wanted to believe it for myself. And I like what Nez says, that your beliefs change. And that is true for me. And with all this studying and things like that, I have come to figure out that I believe more in Father and Jesus than I ever did. It's just not with all the crap that everyone else puts on it within religion, and not backsliding, not running away, or I'm not saying, I'm deconstructed to the point where it's all garbage. I just have been able to separate for myself what is garbage and what is not conducive to the message Jesus brought, and what is. So, and that has brought me a lot of peace. And some of that is knowledge, and it does mix with belief, and I think both are important. That's good. All right. Say hello to Tony's Coffee House, who just popped in the chat.
Hey, Tony.
What a great night. Thank you, guys. We've been staying right around 14 people in the chat. And we appreciate everyone that lurks and all of that. That's fantastic. And people that listen to the broadcast afterwards. We have about 75 people every broadcast that listen or view. And I'm very happy with that. In the chat, usually it's averages about 10. So we're a little higher than that tonight. The most we've ever had in chat at one time was 24. And I was thrilled with that. It was only a couple times, but it was nice. So thanks, guys, for coming. Tony's Coffee House. All right, go ahead, Jen. These are good. They're like you said, they're not as deep, but they can be deep. To me, it depends on
how you answer.
Yeah, how you answer. Yeah,
absolutely. Okay, this one might be fun. What's the worst job you've ever had? And people in the chat, feel free to share, because I would love to hear some stories.
Yeah, if you share it in the chat, you don't want me to read it, just put an asterisk beside it, and I won't read it. But if you answer in the chat, I'll read it. If there's not an asterisk. Okay, Jen knows what I'm going to say. The worst job I ever had was a customer acquisition company called Red Ventures. I was there for 14 months. And the turnover there was about 2 weeks once the person got out of the initial training, which was pretty much a glad handing orientation, which told you kind of what you'd be doing, but it didn't tell you the truth about a lot of things. So I loved the first 3 weeks, and I loved the first 2 weeks of nesting because nothing counted against me. And then my first day on the floor, I was ready to quit. I didn't, because it was after a recession. And it was very important at that time that I'd already looked for jobs and couldn't find one. And so I was going to make it work. But it was the hardest job I've ever had, emotionally and spiritually. I call it the soul-sucking job, because they tell you they took money away from you if you didn't say things the way they wanted you to say it. And they tell you, don't lie. But you kept things from people. I'll give you a quick example. So one of the channels I worked for was DirecTV. So what they do is they get customers for DirecTV, and then they get a percentage of the subscription price. And with DirecTV, you have to sign up for 2 years, and the person, so they get a percentage of that for getting the customer for them. And they went after people with good credit. So if someone applied for DirecTV through us instead of directly for DirecTV, if they failed credit, we would charge them $250 to buy the equipment or to rent the equipment. And sometimes they would say, okay, we're not taking any bad credits. So someone would call, and it would count against you if you didn't make a sale, but you couldn't make a sale if they had bad credit, because they told you not not to sell the subscriptions to bad credit people. See how this works? And it was very difficult to work there. The worst job I've ever had.
Oof. That sounds grueling.
Yeah.
And I've heard more stories about this company, and it's very grueling.
Yeah.
Huh.
I'll add real quick. The worst physical job I ever had, I did roofing for a summer, and I have done putting shingles on roofs. And in the summer in Illinois, we were helping out a friend of the guy that I worked with, and he had to knock out a couple roofs. And it was a really hot summer, and the heat hits you from behind, and it hits the shingles that you're putting up, and it hits you right from the front. And by the end of the day, I had tar on my hands from the shingles, and just sunburn and sore and sweat rashes, and all. It was physically the hardest job I ever had, and I hated it. And I got through it. I did it, but I'd be okay to never be up on a roof again for the purpose of putting shingles on. That's for sure. I'd pay someone to do it if we needed them for sure before I would get up there.
Luckily, we have a tin roof.
Yeah, tin roof. Yeah, sure do.
Who wants to go next? I'll go if you guys aren't ready.
Go ahead.
Okay, so first I was going to say the first job I ever had, which was being a secretary at a nursing home. And at the time, I was very desperate for a job. I was terrified of dying. So being around a bunch of, well, that sounds really insensitive. Being around a lot of old people was very difficult for me. Now, at the same time, there were some bright spots. I got to do some of the ladies' nails and play cards with them, but they did have an Alzheimer's wing, and it just was really sad and scary for me at the time. I probably would enjoy it much better now. One lady actually from the Alzheimer wing tried to escape one day, and they warned me about this one lady. She was really tiny, but she tried to escape, and I was the only one up front at the front desk. And so I tried to stop her, and she punched me.
Oh, what?
She punched me in the arm, not the face, but she had a bony fist. It really hurt. I was like, I'll let you go. Bye. But I haven't had a whole lot of bad jobs. I will say my last big job, which was the antique store, it was very much of a mixed bag because the company was really rough. And I think I could have enjoyed that job to the umpteenth degree, and I could have done it for the rest of my life if it weren't for the company. I just was walking on eggshells and, financial abuse and a bunch of other stuff. It was really difficult. And it was really hard to have a job that I knew, we have this business that could be so much fun, but there's all of this stuff going on behind the scenes and in the store when we were there alone that was making it hellish. So that was really difficult. So in a way, it was probably the worst job I've ever had, but in another way, it was probably the coolest job I've ever had.
Yeah.
Which is a weird dichotomy,
Yeah.
We were pretty much treasure hunting and finding all kinds of amazing things to sell and finding homes for them. It was just had a really cool side to it.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, John.
Yeah.
Before we get to anyone else, I'll share what they're saying in the chat real quick. Bobby says, doing produce at Kessel's, I had to sort through rotten potatoes.
Oh, no.
That's not great. Okie Grower says, shoveling snow as a kid, froze my toes and got sick and never got paid.
Oh, man. Oh, I'll read Burnt Flowers.
Okay.
They said, I was hired for a web page design job for this natural healing lady in Frankenmuth. I showed up.
Yep.
Yeah, Frankenmuth. I showed up and I'm told I have to work the scheduling and the website. And I don't think she was, quote unquote, healing the guys. Or I don't know if she was just dealing with guys or girls too, but oh no, it's not good.
I think it wasn't healing. Yeah, it was something else. Right.
And Tony said, I can't think of any job I've had that I didn't like. That's really cool.
That is cool.
To not really have had a job.
If you can say that, that's great. Let's check and make sure that's it. All right. Brenda says, music store, no training, just threw me in there and was just too much. Stressful, LOL. Okay. All right. What about you, Nez? And Annie's Paradox is here. Let's say hello to Annie's Paradox. Welcome.
Mine is one that I loved, but I ended up hating. Not because of the job itself. I was working in a group home, and I loved working with special needs people. I'd done that many times in my life, either working or volunteering. My mother's sister was an art special eds teacher in a special needs school, and I'd spent many a year helping her, going to Special Olympics and things like that. So I always had a heart to help special needs people. And that was great. I got to do cooking and cleaning, and you'd take the residents to their appointments, to whatever their activities were. Some of them went to work, some of them went to activity centers during the day, etc. It was that part, the service, serving those people was wonderful.
Yeah.
What was not wonderful was the corruption in the business itself. And when I say that, I mean people getting away with abuse of the residents and it being swept under the rug, gotten away with, done over and over and over.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where I had to report one of the people I was working with.
Oh, no.
And they made me work with that same lady who was being abusive, physically abusive to one of the residents. And I still had to work with her for an additional week. And after a week, I felt a release because I felt I don't want to leave these people. I don't want to just up and walk away, but I felt a spiritual release. Like, it's okay. God has them. I'll be all right. I just need to get out of there.
Yeah.
And it wasn't long, maybe a month or two after that woman got fired. So thank God for that. But so one of my favorite jobs turned out to be a living nightmare.
Well, that's a great story. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, that sucks when you're witnessing abuse of people. That's way worse than mine. I mean, we're not playing a contest or anything, but mine was just hurtful to me. And so, well, I guess in a way, telling people who had bad credit that they couldn't get DirecTV, which is a lie. They're having me lie to people, but yours is worse, in my opinion. Watching someone abuse and having to work with that person. Can't think of much that's worse than that. Glenn, you're up next on this, buddy. What's the worst job you've ever had, if there is any?
Oh, man. Okay. Nobody's going to like this, and I advise you, if you don't like cockroaches, to shut your ears and walk off for a couple of minutes.
Okay.
So, fair warning has been given. Okay, when I worked at the university, we had to go and get things for students, right, for classes and whatever. So you could be going could be on the good side of it. You'd go to the island, go to the islands on looking for marine specimens, and go down the beach and have a blast. But sometimes it wasn't so good. Sometimes they needed to dissect cockroaches.
Oh.
So okay, here it comes.
All right.
So they had a place in one of the suburbs, not far, probably like 15, 20-minute drive from the university.
Yeah.
And I got initiated by the person that was before me, and he said, okay, this is what you're going to do. So he goes and opens up this manhole cover and says, right, here's a huge bucket, like a what do you call it? A big garbage tin, right?
Yeah.
And inside it is this non-free, I think they call it something Freon or something. Anyway, it's a non-slip sort of thing. So once you get something in the bucket, it can't get out, like insects or whatever.
Right.
Can't crawl out. So he says, now you got to go down there and you take a banister brush, like those brushes that you sweep into a tray. I don't know what you call them over there in the US.
Yeah.
But little when you brush dust off the floor into a little
a smaller brush. Yeah.
Yeah, one of those. They're about a foot long with a handle. So you got to go down there, and when you get down there, you got to look up, take a light, and you'll see all these cockroaches. The cockroaches will be on the ceiling, like they'll be like all over. They'll be like about 20 deep, crawling on this big massive cockroaches, thousands of them.
Oh my gosh!
Get in there, put your hat on, and sweep them into the bucket.
Oh.
And there's like
Holy
literally,
crap.
oh yeah, you can see you know what happens. Of course, you for every 50 you get into the bucket, you get like 100 on your head, and they're running all over you,
Oh
all
my
over your
gosh.
overalls,
That's Jen's
crawling through
nightmare.
your hair,
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
and this you can't get the smell. You can't get the smell of them out of your overalls. Or
Oh
your
my
clothes.
gosh. No, no. No, 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 no.
Oh, gee, that's the most fun I've had for ages. I hope
Making my skin crawl.
yeah. Oh,
my
chat just
gosh.
gone down. There's no viewers.
Everybody's left. Thanks, Glenn.
Oh, so there you go. That is as bad as it gets.
That's great. That's
Oh,
great.
That is
man.
pretty bad.
I never recovered. I think I had to find a subordinate to go do it next time.
Wow. Thanks, Glenn.
Yeah, thanks for sharing.
Yeah, right. John Boy Art says, I'm 43 years old, disabled. Worst job I have was working for the state. I had people messing with me because of my speech problem I have, and had a bad relationship. So no job and no one to have for 5 years.
Oh,
Well,
John, I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, that's horrible that they would make fun of you for anything. That's super unfortunate. Glad you're not in that situation now for sure. So before we move on to the next one, Brenda's asking where people are from, and Tony's Coffee House says Flint. Rachel says Virginia, USA.
Ah,
And Bobby says, I think I knew that Bobby was from Michigan, but I didn't realize they lived in Birch Run. I know where Birch Run is, so I mentioned, I don't think you were here, Bobby, but I was talking about Gladwin, Michigan. Birch Run's not too far from Gladwin. I mean, I've been there through Birch Run area. In fact, I had a lady that called from Michigan on the phone the other day at my job, and they were from Birch Run. And we talked for a few minutes about that. John Boy Art says Oklahoma here. So, yeah, we've got a couple people from all over the place. A couple Michiganders up there, Virginia, which is where Jen's from. That's where Williamsburg is.
oh,
So, and then Bobby says, I'm going to Mackinac tomorrow. That's the place we go. We used to go every year. We didn't make it last year. We financially couldn't make it. But this next June, and I want to make this clear to anyone that's in our path, we're definitely going to visit Nez on the way up because she's really close to the route that we take anyway. But while we're in Michigan, and we'll give you plenty of heads up, if anyone wants to meet at a Big Boy and have a cup of coffee or something when we come to Michigan, we'll meet anybody that wants to meet us. So it's a long way away, but we'll talk about it again. Before we move on, I said that I was going to mention this at the middle of the broadcast and again at the end. We have a few more people that are in here now that weren't here at the beginning, as Nez pointed out. So we're asking everyone to give us ideas for the direction of True Story Live, or if it's not the direction, if it's not a direction change, we're asking for ideas about topics. Where I'm asking for anyone that wants to share your story, any story. It can be long, it can be short, it can be whatever. A story that we can share with our listeners and we can have conversations about it. We would love that. We also are opening it up to people that want to do a write-up for us. And if you're worried about not knowing how to do a write-up, please don't. Nez didn't know how necessarily to do it in the same format that we put it in, and we help her learn how to do that, and that's okay. She's a natural writer, in my opinion. It may not be the same way we do it at the beginning, but that's okay. We'll take whatever you're willing to give. So again, topics for discussion on the show, any topic that you would like to hear us talk about. Any story that you'd like to tell and have it read and talk about the story on the broadcast, or if you want to do a write-up. And if you have any wild ideas about anything for True Story Live, we're open to it. So you can pop your ideas in the chat and we'll collect them there, or you can send any of us an email and we'll pop those in the chat at the end. You can, if you're friends with us on Facebook, you can reach out on Facebook. You can put it on the broadcast in the comment section. Whatever you'd like to do, we're asking for your ideas. Okay? All right. Everyone answered that question, I think, right? The last one? Yeah, the job thing. Well, we got a lot out of that one, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Okigora said, Brenda, I helped build the huge Google plant in Cheyenne. Coldest weather I've ever felt.
My brother used to live there. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
It's cold.
Annie's Paradox says, at Jason, who's allowed to participate in offering write-ups? Anyone. Anyone. We're opening it up to everyone. We love how the broadcast is and all that, but we just feel like it's just us. And Glenn does most of the writing, and he needs a break every once in a while, and we're certainly wanting to give him that. I like what we're doing tonight, but we want to know, do you want us to dive into deeper topics, more of a challenge, more of a confrontational nature, or would you like it to be kind of light like tonight is? And as far as write-ups, we're opening it up to anyone who wants to do a write-up on whatever topic you want to do it on. So hope that answers your question, Annie. Thank you for asking. That's a great question.
The other thing, Crips, is we can always, if someone, like we have done quite a few times in the past, if someone comes up with something they'd like to see put onto the table, but they don't feel that they want to go as far as doing a write-up, by all means, share the ideas. We can communicate with you, and one of us will put it together without having the stress of doing that on that person, but make sure that their ideas are incorporated as the theme.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Glad you brought that up. So yeah, don't worry about doing the write-up. If you have an idea and you want to put together some sentences and kind of, guide how you'd like it to go, and one of us will do the write-up. No problem. All right. Okay. Tony's Coffee House says, do a game show. Okay. Well, thanks for that suggestion. Well, what kind of game show would you like to see us do?
Trivia?
Yeah. We can do a trivia game show.
We could all do
trivia.
All right.
All right. Next one.
Okay, this is a good one. Is justice or forgiveness more important? Is justice or forgiveness more important?
Wow.
I'll go first.
Okay.
I think forgiveness. Maybe. Now I'm thinking about it. Wait a minute. I do think forgiveness is most important.
Yeah.
When I think of justice, like I do believe in justice, but I think forgiveness, when you look at it as a whole, it needing to be the person who was done to, being able to let go and forgive and move on.
Yeah.
I think that's more important. I mean, how many stories have we heard of families getting justice for a child getting murdered, and the person gets on death row, but the child is still gone and the trauma is still there. And I think forgiveness is a big part of getting past that. Not past the trauma. I'm sure parts of the trauma are always going to be there, but I don't know. I just think forgiveness is more important.
Yeah,
what do you
I
think?
would agree. Well, my answer is going to be forgiveness. When someone says justice, I think that whose justice is it? I think that if a person's a believer, you don't want justice, you want forgiveness. I mean, that's the way Christianity works. So for me, it definitely, as far as me being a person, I don't always want justice for another person. I want to be forgiving. Justice is sometimes needed, and sometimes it's very, very. It can be a very good thing, but sometimes justice it doesn't serve everyone well. And who's deciding? I guess that's the way my brain works. Is who's deciding what's justice? what's justice for someone else is an atrocity for another person. It just depends, I guess. But I can't think of where forgiveness is ever bad for anyone. Rachel Menifee agrees. She says forgiveness. Bobby says, I'll pick justice. There are some things for which I could never forgive. Okay. Well, thanks for that, Bobby. I appreciate
That's honest.
Brenda says, I think the two go together. So there we got a couple people.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing, guys.
Okay. Just I want to address this since we just talked about it. Annie's Paradox asks Jason/Glenn, if the write-up is offered, will it be read without being edited? I'll let Glenn answer that one. You see their question?
Yeah, I see it, and I responded. I said, from my angle, as long as the write-up does not offend public decency or defame anyone, etc., I don't see a problem in taking it as read. So what does everyone else think?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
I like those guidelines. And if there were anything in there that was, we'd reach out to the person that sent it in and talk to him about it.
Exactly.
Wouldn't just reject it and not say anything.
Right. That's a good point. So I would add to that if the person that's doing the write-up is asking for it not to be edited, they want to present their thoughts clear, whatever way they want to. I would defer to Glenn's caveat there, as long as it's not offensive to people. I would be fine with that, me personally. But this is a group, so everyone would get to weigh in on that. So if anyone has a different thought on that, please share it. Say hello to Alan62. Alan62 says justice is not stealing houses and everything in them from vulnerable families. Property taxes are extortion. You're not going to get any disagreement from this guy. Yeah. Thank you for your comment, Alan62, and we're glad that you're here. Make everyone please make Alan feel welcome. I don't think that they have been here before, or maybe I don't remember. Annie's Paradox says, at TSL, thank you for clarifying what your perspectives are on it. Oh, sure, absolutely. We're putting it out there for you guys, and we'll answer any questions about it that anyone has. So you're very welcome. Conscious Evolution Channel says, you can edit my stuff. It'll probably need it. Okay. All right. Who's next on the last question?
Probably me.
Okay, go ahead, Glenn.
Could you please, I was it asking me to put one in front of the other here? Forgiveness and justice, Jen?
So it was, is justice or forgiveness more important?
So it's asking, I guess it's just asking you what's
personally,
more important to you.
Yeah.
Boy, difficult question.
It's a good one, yeah.
I'm trying to think about it. I think they're both important, but I'd probably put forgiveness in front.
Okay. Yeah.
Thanks.
All right. Nez?
Forgiveness. I'm going to say forgiveness because that's for you.
Yeah.
And coming from a Christian perspective, God will handle the justice. And I've seen many times in my own life how things play out, and God can handle it better than I can. I would rather have my slate clean and myself unburdened and not carry unforgiveness. God forgave me, and we are commanded to forgive if we want forgiveness. I want forgiveness, so that means I need to forgive. So that's a touch more important to me. Like I said, I have zero doubt that justice will be served one way or another. But for me, something I can control is whether or not I forgive. So I'm going to take forgiveness.
All right, then. I like it. All right. Everyone answer that one. That was a good one. I like it.
Next.
This
one will be a fun one. What did you get into trouble for when you were young? I'll start.
Okay.
Okay, so when I was 17, I was dating a guy in high school, my first love, quote unquote, and his parents were in Italy. And he had some guy friends from his neighborhood over at his house and invited me and a girlfriend and her boyfriend at the time, Travis, to come over and hang out. We got there. It's like 10-ish, maybe a little later. And they were drinking some beers and hanging out, watching a movie. And so we were hanging out with them. And then my boyfriend, on and off boyfriend at the time, decided to go back to his friend's house in the neighborhood. And he told us, you guys can stay as long as you like. And so we're hanging out. I had some cornflakes.
Yeah.
And I went down to his room and I saw that his clock was blinking. So I don't know if the power went out or what happened. But I thought, oh, I'll be a really good girlfriend and reset his clock.
Oh.
So I sat down, and back in the night, this was like 97. We had this thing called, you could call time on the phone, and it would give you the time. Like I've never really been a watch person. Right. So I pick up his cordless, and it was one of those big, cordless phones with the big antenna you have to pull out.
Yeah.
And so I pulled that open, and the number for time in Williamsburg was 229-1140. Well, right. This particular cordless phone was kind of old. It's like one of those bricks, Yeah. And the twos didn't work. So I dialed 229-1140. I still remember the number. So I'm sitting there and I'm waiting for the automated lady to come on, the operator robot lady, to say, at the tone, the time will be da 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 da. And it was ringing, and then someone picked up and they were like, emergency something or other. It was late. It was actually later than when we got there. I want to say it was like 12:30-ish, maybe 1 in the morning. And so because someone picked up and it was an actual person, it wasn't the time robot lady, I hung up. And so I'm sitting there and I've got the phone in my lap, and Whitney, my friend Whitney, and her boyfriend Travis were upstairs. And I'm just trying to figure out what I had just done. And the phone in my lap rang. And so at first I'm thinking, oh my gosh, there's neighbors that saw the lights on. It's late. They probably know that the parents are out of town. Like, yeah. I'm freaking out. So the phone's ringing, and Whitney and Travis are like, what's going on? I'm like, I don't know. I think a neighbor's trying to call, because I just didn't realize what I had done. So the answering machine picked up, and we couldn't hear the recording. You had to play the answering machine back. Right. And so we're running around like freaking out. And finally I figure out how to work the answering machine, and I have to go through all of these voicemails to get to the latest one. And there's like, voicemails from my boyfriend's parents. They're like, oh, we miss you. We love you. And you can hear mopeds in the background. They're calling from Italy. Finally, we get to the last voice message, and it's the police. And they're like, hey, somebody called 911 from this number and hung up. We just want to make sure everybody is okay. If we don't get a call back from you, we're going to send a trooper over to the house. And so as we're listening to this last voicemail, because there might have been like 5 before it, there's a knock on the door. And this particular house was like sort of a modern tri-level house. So there's a big window next to the front door. And so if you looked in this big, 6-foot window, you could see the stairs going up to the main level, stairs going down to the lower level. And so we were standing in the middle room downstairs, like right in line with the front door window. So like Travis and Whitney go to hide, and I'm just standing there. Like, they already saw us. It was Officer McMichaels. I still remember his name. He was such a jerk. So we go up and we answer the door, and I was explaining to him, I was honest. I was like, my boyfriend just ran over to his friend's house. His parents aren't home. Anyway, it just was a mess. And so they left their card for the parents. And I also dialed star 69, which is trying, when I first messed up, I dialed star 69 to figure out who was calling, because it gives you the last incoming call number. But I didn't realize that if the cops are calling you back, like if the emergency number, if they're calling you back, it doesn't show up on caller ID or if you do star 69. So anyway, I got into a lot of trouble. Yeah. Whitney, that was with us, she was 18 already. and Travis and I were 17. So the cop was like, we could arrest you for, I don't even remember what he said, but she was the adult there and it wasn't our house.
Oh.
And then his parents found out and they already didn't really like me. And I think that kind of sealed the deal.
Oh, no.
And he was mad at me. And I was like, you told us we could stay for as long as you like. And he tried to say, well, that was just like me being nice. I'm like, oh my gosh, what a mess. And so we didn't even figure, we thought neighbors had called the cops on the house. They saw people like in the house or lights on or something and knew the parents were out of town. So when we left the house after the cop left, it wasn't until like an hour and a half later that I finally figured out what I had done, that I had called the cops on myself.
Oh,
It was terrible. Yeah, it was bad. Yeah. So that's one of a couple stories. That's probably the best one.
That's something else.
Whew.
All right. I'll go next, and I'll just say probably a better question is what did I not get in trouble for?
Is that a shorter list?
Yeah. My parents were very controlling, or my mom really was very controlling. I have said on this very broadcast that she was a helicopter parent before it became a term. I mean, showed up at the school all the time. She was very involved, and some of that I'm grateful for, and some of it I'm not. And they controlled pretty much every aspect of my life. And I am a strong-willed person. I have my own sense of the way things ought to be, and I didn't make it easy for them a lot of times, and so I got in trouble a lot for disobeying. Being grounded and for eating things that were forbidden for me to eat, even if it was at someone else's house on a spend the night, they would somehow find out about it, and I would get in trouble because I had sugar cereal or I had a sandwich on Wonder Bread instead of wheat bread. So yeah, there was a lot, and I got in trouble for a lot of stuff. Trouble at school, trouble for kind of friends that I hung out with. Sometimes I got in trouble because I would be around friends that would do things that I wasn't allowed to do, and I would do it. Watching movies or content at someone else's house who had HBO, somehow they'd find out about that, and I would get in trouble for that. One time I went and saw Police Academy with an older friend who was 17. I think I was 15, and he took me to see that movie, which was rated R, and he proactively told my parents that he did that because he was trying to get in with my parents. He was trying to so he was a very unloyal friend. Obviously I didn't stay friends with him after that. Yeah, so that's my answer.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Oh no. Who's next?
Who's next?
I'll go.
Okay.
I'll spice it up a bit.
All right.
Please.
I was always in trouble for being rebellious, which is justified. But I do remember one thing where I really got in trouble was when, as you know, as you said before, I used to work at the university, and we were people who worked in the lab. We were similar age to the students, maybe a couple of years older at that time, and so we all used to get together and have these parties.
Yeah.
They was invited us because we were all part of sort of a group, and
Sure.
Someone said, "Oh, look, we've come across these 16mm, which is an unusual film size. That more professional film size. We've got these porn movies, and we need a projector." And me being an idiot said, "Oh, I can get you a 16mm projector." So I signed out the department's projector for the weekend and took it to the party. But these, unbeknownst to me, and I was there, but I didn't realise they set it up, and one of my other mates from the uni, they were projecting it onto the garage wall in the neighbourhood.
Wow.
Oh.
And one of the neighbours called the police. And what do you think they did? They came round and confiscated the projector.
Oh my
Was I in deep shit?
Oh, now the laughing comes out. Okay.
Yes, right. Okay. Those bloody neighbours. There you go.
Oh man, Glenn.
Yeah.
How old were you, Glenn?
Oh, probably early 20s.
Okay.
Wow, that's a good one.
But yeah.
Oh man,
Yeah,
that
I
must have
think you can
sucked.
get your own projector in future.
Yeah,
Oh, whoops.
Yeah, there you go.
that's a good one. Ned, you're up
Thanks.
last on this one.
Oh, I got in trouble for so many things. And Bobby left. She could back me up if she hadn't gone. But one of the times is I was staying overnight at Bobby's, and we were maybe middle school, early high school age. And we'd taken her mother's Fix-A-Dent, her denture adhesive, and glued all of her stuff to the
Oh my gosh.
and we took everything in the living room and just turned it upside down to see how long it would take for her to notice. Oh man. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
See, we were always getting in trouble anyway, so we figured we might as well just have fun. So
Absolutely.
indeed we did. We weren't out running the streets and doing anything like that, but
Sure.
she used to accuse us of drinking her whiskey, and I hate whiskey, and I would have never touched that with a 10-foot pole, and neither would Bobby. But she'd mark her bottle, Oh, are you getting into my booze? No, Sue, we're not
Oh,
getting into your booze.
Many
So
kids did that though.
So
Yeah.
she rode Bobby real hard, and of course I got that too when I went over there. So sometimes we just had a bit of fun. Sure, we got in trouble. What else is new?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. All right. That was
All
fun.
right. That
I
was
like hearing
good.
these stories. I expected more laughs with mine, but I didn't get them. I'm very disappointed.
Well,
I'm
it's
just
not
kidding.
really. Do you think it's funny?
I think it is. I didn't at the time.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was funny. Somebody calling the cops on themselves is pretty. Maybe it's
Yeah.
not funny. Maybe it's
I guess
more
it's funny.
embarrassing.
I'd heard the story before, but I guess I could have.
You could have given me a few pity laughs. Come on. Okay, next question. If you could give all human beings one virtue, which would you choose?
All human beings.
One virtue.
Mm,
You want to go first?
sure.
Honesty.
Oh, that's a good one.
That could be beautiful. It could be disastrous. Which one do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it could be, but truth is always best. I would love to have the truth from everyone. That'd be great. Even if I didn't like it, at least I would know it was the truth instead of someone blowing smoke.
That's true.
I would say personal responsibility. I don't know if that's a virtue in everyone's eyes, but it is to me.
Oh, that's a good one.
I feel like if people took personal responsibility for themselves, then this world would be a lot better place.
Yeah.
Not blame it on everyone else. And I think we come to that place anyway. You guys hear me talk a lot about, someone's childhood being bad. I complain about my childhood, but when I became an adult, I'm responsible for the choices I make, regardless of what my childhood was like. So I take personal responsibility for myself as an adult person in the world. And
Yeah.
gosh, with all these videos that you see, these fights, and they're calling people Karens, and sometimes they are Karens. But when I see a video like that, I think, why are they filming this person who's obviously not having a good day and they're acting out? If everyone took responsibility for themselves and didn't traffic in that sort of thing and just walked away, I think the world would be a better place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Personal responsibility. That's a good one.
All right. Naz, what about you? You could make everyone have a virtue. What would it be?
That would be love. And with that, compassion, and add humility to that as well.
Okay. Good. Glenn?
Consider others as well as yourself.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
That's a biblical one for sure.
There you go.
Love it.
Alrighty.
All right.
What's next?
Oh, before we move on, Okie Grower answered the last question. He says, I got caught stealing beer nuts and condoms at a grocery store when I was 13.
Oh, man.
That's an odd mixture to take there, Okie. I don't want to ask why beer nuts. I mean, condoms I get.
Our beer nuts are good, aren't they?
Yeah. Alan 62 says loyalty, empathy, and compassion. That's good.
I like that. You guys still there? Got really quiet.
Okie says cop took me home, bike in the trunk. My 15-year-old girlfriend answered the door.
Oh my gosh.
That answers both questions. Beer nuts and condoms and a 15-year-old girlfriend. Okie liked him older when he was young. 13.
All right, we on to the next question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. You okay there?
Yeah, well, Okie's funny. It just says beer nuts were just a cover up.
Oh, that's funny.
Anyway,
let's see. Have you ever had an experience that led you to believe in angels or ghosts?
No, personally, no. I've heard lots of stories, but I myself have not had any. I wish I had seen an angel or a ghost, either one. I've had weird things happen that couldn't be explained, but never saw an angel or a ghost. Nope. Sad to say.
I haven't either. My mom had an angel experience, but I have not. What about you, Nez?
Funny you should ask. Diana's dad and I have our own investigation group called Legendary Ohio Research and Exploration, and we have extended experience in dealing with cryptozoological things, with paranormal things, with spooks, specters, ghosts, demons, some angel stuff. You name it. Between the two of us, collectively, we've had quite a bit of experience in those areas, and it's been fantastic. Acknowledging that the spiritual aspect of our existence is absolutely essential, in my opinion. You're denying part of your own reality, your own existence, if you turn a blind eye or just want to go la la la. It's not real. And some people do. Some people don't want to acknowledge that part for whatever their reason. But yes, I've had many experiences in the theater I used to take, pleasure in participating in here in Ohio, here in Newark. That place is so haunted and full of stuff. I mean, you everywhere you look, there's something. I've gotten photograph after photograph of orbs, of other things. I've seen things move across the table that nothing was moving. I've seen the shadow beings, and the earthworks here in Newark is a great place to go see shadow beings that are kind of in a time loop. They do the same thing over and over again, and they don't interact with you. It really blows your mind, and there is nothing to replace the experience of the spiritual. You can tell people about it. You can talk to people about it. You can describe it. Whatever, even if you show pictures and video and footage, you can bring all of that proof to the table you want to. A person has to experience it for themselves.
Sure.
To really get the full brunt of what's going on. So we could do, if there's anybody there that has experiences with cryptozoological beings, with the paranormal, with anything like that. I'm well versed in that stuff. If that's a topic somebody wants to delve into, I can come from a place with plenty of stuff to talk about in that particular area. So, yes.
Excellent. Thank you, Nez. Anyone
Glenzo?
else?
My answer's shorter than this. That's a no.
No.
All right, moving along.
Well, like I said, I have heard lots of stories. I mean, so many people have either a ghost story or an angel story. It's not, and Nez wasn't saying this to me, but it's not that I don't believe in the spiritual realm. I do. I just personally haven't witnessed anything like that. But I have always wanted to. Like I said, I've had weird things happen and people show up. One time a friend and I were driving down the road and there was this woman walking by the side of the road. And we were like, well, it was late at night and all that. Should we go back and, pick her up and make sure she's all right? And we turned around and we couldn't find her. And no other cars went by and there was nowhere for her to hide. It was just like a 4-lane road. It wasn't even in a neighborhood. There was no forest or anything. It was just, there was nothing out there. And so, but I don't know that it was an angel or a ghost. Nothing ever came out of that. But anyway, go ahead, Jen.
Okay. Next question. Would you rather age forward or backwards from this point?
Read it again, please.
Would you rather age forward or backwards from this point?
Oh, wow. I don't think I want to go backward.
Why not?
Well, I would assume that you wouldn't be able to stop it, right? You'd end up like a Benjamin Button kind of situation.
That's what I was thinking too.
You'd be like an infant again, and who's going to take care of me then at that point? No,
Mama.
No. Right? Exactly. Now, if I could take off 20 years or something, I'd do that. But I'm happy. I don't mind aging. It's part of life. Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder how that would end. It doesn't tell us. The card doesn't tell us.
Right. The card doesn't tell us.
I was thinking at first it would be fun to age backward with you.
Well, if we could stop at a certain point,
yeah, that's true.
I'd go back to 25 or something like that for sure. Sure.
It's got,
especially if you had the extra years on. If you would reverse back to 25 and get to live up to that point again, there's more time with you would be great. So for that,
reason, that would be a better question.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Nez or Glenn?
Oh, you going, Nez, or me?
You go ahead, dear.
Okay. What's this deer thing? Nah, I don't want to go back. I'd say that I think I've been privileged to have experienced what I have, and I'm looking forward to experiencing what's to come. I don't need to repeat it.
Yeah. Well, too bad, because reincarnation's real. You've lived several lives, Glenn.
No. Well, I'll find out when I become an earthworm, won't I?
No. The whole animal thing, you don't change into an animal. You're born into a different body.
Oh, okay. Yeah, right. No, I'm convinced.
Jason's talking like he knows.
Right. I know that. See, you can sound convincing. It all depends on how you present it, right?
I just rolled my eyes, thought, okay.
I'm sure you did.
I heard it. I heard the eye roll.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's why I say
I'm going out, and I'm going out south of the border.
South of the border.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
What about you, Marisa? Nez. Or Nez? Marisa, Nez?
I ain't going back. We're going forward. God help me, I'm going forward. I've lived my life, and I've earned everything that I've got to show for it with my gray hairs and whatnot. I'm not ashamed of it. They're badges of honor. It proves I've survived and made it this far.
Yeah.
So, nice.
Forward on we go.
Forward on. Okay. I like it.
Wonderful.
All right. Would you be likely to survive alone in the wilderness?
How long?
It just says survive alone. It doesn't say how long.
Sure. I mean, there are some. I love these survival stories. One of my favorite things. There's a lot of them on YouTube, And one of the scariest in some ways are survival or not stories in the wilderness, where someone goes into the wilderness unprepared and end up not coming out again, and not checking the weather. And it happens a lot. It happens more than you think it would. And if I went in prepared and had things that I needed, yes, I think I could certainly survive. But as to how long, I don't know. I would want to have time to prepare and learn some things that I don't currently know. I think people back in the day, like in the 1800s, probably more people would have had a better chance at surviving because they had to learn skills that in the world of TikTok and YouTube and everything's just easy to get, and food's easy to get. It's expensive as hell, but you can get it. Where back then you had to work for everything, so they had to learn how to field dress a deer or all kinds of stuff that people don't know how to do as much anymore. But yeah, I probably could for a period of time.
That would be my answer as well. I think I know enough to get by for a period of time. I'd like to learn more about mushrooms and plants, like what not to eat, what to eat. I think that would be beneficial.
Yeah.
Yeah. It would be interesting.
Yeah.
Nez, what about you?
Yeah, I think I could do it. Sure.
How long do you think you'd last? Forever?
That would depend on how well I was prepared. If I had to start with nothing, is different than going in with a full pack.
Right.
Either way, though, at least I think I have a fighting chance to last a reasonable amount of time where I wouldn't die of starvation and lack of water. I've got enough knowledge to know that what some things are edible or medicinal. I'm not afraid to pick up something and use it as a weapon. I certainly can fashion a shelter or
can you make fire?
As that. Yes, I can.
Oh, nice, sweet.
Yes,
well, I'm going to be surviving in the wild with you.
All right. Survival skills. And that's another important topic we could discuss here. We could talk about survival skills. We could talk about things in nature that are good for edibles, good for medicinal things.
Yeah.
That's a good topic. Good things to know.
Well, I know Glen hasn't answered yet, but Alan62 says, on the reincarnation, I'm not a believer about that, but does one maintain the same stance on, say, what I posted above? Loyalty, empathy, and compassion. If reincarnated, do we maintain those? A topic like that is very interesting to me, Alan. I was joking about reincarnation. It's not something I believe, but I don't know. I mean, I'm in a place now where they lie about so many things. I really don't know what's true. 10 years ago, I would have said that, well, the Bible says you're born once, you die once. Doesn't say you're born once. It said it's appointed unto man once to die and then the judgment. But a lot could be read into that, which time. I don't, like I said, I don't believe in it, but the theories that I've heard, I've looked a lot into this, are that this, like Nez says, this world is a school. And if you don't learn what you're supposed to learn, then it keeps happening. So until you learn loyalty, empathy, and compassion, for me, it's love. The idea of learning how to love like Christ said to love. If you don't learn it, you're in a way cursed to keep repeating it until you get it. Of course, that belief is not a Christian belief at all. But there are a lot of people that believe that's the way it is. A lot of these near-death experiences say that's the way it is, and that we choose what things we're going to go through in this life. And when we die, we remember who we are. And then if we're not done learning yet, then we choose to be born into another body. Could be a man, could be a woman, whatever, but we keep getting born, quote unquote, born again. until we learn how to love like we're supposed to love. And these people don't believe there's a hell. They believe that this is, in a way, the hell that people face. And if you learn what you need to learn and you become a loving person, then there's no reason to stay here anymore. So when you die, that's the last time you're born. Like I said, it's just an interesting topic, so I'm glad that you brought it up. So in my opinion, if that were true, I think that you even if you don't remember your past life, if that were the way things are, you would remember some things internally that you'd learned in the previous life. It's just interesting. I'm glad you brought it up. Okay, Glenn, you're up.
That one I can't answer. I'll just say I'll give it my best shot. I'm
That's
not
a good
going to
answer.
mention snakes.
Give him a
But
best
if you
shot.
said, do I feel like I want to go walking out in the bush to survive? It doesn't thrill me.
No.
No, it doesn't me either. I've seen a lot of shows that are filmed in Australia, and I don't want any part of the outback. No thanks.
I laughed.
Well, I mean, I've been through the desert too, and it wasn't
With
on
a horse with a name.
And I wouldn't want to be out there either, stranded. I mean, it's one thing to go out there and pitch a tent or whatever, and you know, some of those places are beautiful, especially when you go through the mountain passes and things like that. But it's all just desert flatland. Some of the most boring, to me, boring geography that there is out there. This is what purpose does it serve? Yeah, I don't ever want to be out in the desert, you know, the sun beating down on you walking, you know, no water. No.
Yeah.
Thanks. I also don't want to be stuck out in the middle of the ocean. That's another one. No desire for that.
My
You're
little
a
laugh.
wimp, Crip's a wimp.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah.
I'm pampered. I am. I have to sleep on a mattress. I used to have to sleep on couches sometimes. You like spend the night at a friend's house, but I hated sleeping on a couch. If I was somewhere, I would. Well, you got a bed? I am pampered. I have to have things be a certain way. If I stay in a hotel, I used to go in and check the mattress in the room before I paid for it, but they often don't let you do that.
That's something about you I did not know.
Yeah, well, I quit doing it because
I would have left you. I'm
you would have.
I'm just kidding.
If
left you
I
at the
wanted to
hotel. I would have
make
gone
sure-
swim in the car.
Listen, that has saved me a few times. We've gone into a room, or I've gone into a room, and there are roaches on the floor, and it doesn't look like it's been cleaned. I'm not gonna do that. Nope.
Oh man.
Haven't lived, Crips.
Yep.
Boy.
Well, at least you can admit it. It's the first step.
Yeah.
You know?
Truth.
Yeah, I know. I know who I am.
More you know who you're not.
Yeah, that's right. All right, what's up next? We have a little over 15 minutes left.
This was an interesting question. Which is more important to you, the respect of your children or your parents?
If I had children, I would much rather have my children respect me.
I was thinking the same.
Yeah. I mean, that ship's already sailed as far as I'm concerned. I mean, my mom's no longer with us. I think she respected me, and I think my dad respects me to a certain extent. But yeah, if I had children, I would much rather have their respect than my parents.
I kind of feel like that's a given, but maybe some people feel differently.
Could be. What about you, Nez?
Definitely my children. Like you
Sure.
said, that ship has sailed with the parental figures.
Yeah.
And, the time for that has come and gone. And
Yeah.
my mother's not with us anymore. And as for my biological dad, I could give a toot if, what he thinks right now. I mean, really. But I believe I did have, especially towards the end of their life, I think I had the respect of both of my grandparents that raised me, and I ended up caring for them when they declined in health. So
Yeah.
sometimes you can have both. I like to think I
Sure.
have both, but definitely I want my children to have the
Yeah.
respect for me.
Yeah. Makes sense. Glenn?
I think respect is two-way street. Obviously, but my children would come first. But I've got a suspicion, and without any statistical data, that if you're getting the respect of your children and you're respecting them, it's quite likely that you're going to have respect in the parental equation as well. I'm
Oh,
not sure, but I'm suggesting that's how it's worked for me. It just seemed to be generational respect that's gone down the line.
yeah.
So and reciprocated in each of those situations. I don't know how others have experienced it, because I know on this channel I've heard the many stories of the family stuff and estranged kids and stuff, and I sort of think, okay, well, I sort of was a bit naive and didn't realise that lots of people don't have what I've got, and I
Yeah.
feel very fortunate to have it. So it's not always easy.
All right.
Yeah.
Good.
All righty.
All right.
Next, what's the hardest thing you've ever done?
Hardest thing I've ever done. Um. Oh,
I-
I would say learning how to do the soft plan 3D architecture,
That was
because
tough.
I just had never done anything like that before, and it was important to me to learn how to do it, and it took me a good deal of time. And I think the program is so complex. I think you could do it for 30 years and not know everything that it can do. But I've done it long enough to learn what I need to do for the job that I get paid for. But there's a lot of things I don't know. But that was hard because I have in my life I have tried to do things that I know that I can do, and this was not like that. It was something that just wasn't in my wheelhouse at the time. Um, but it turned out to be something I really enjoy and love. But it was a little touch and go there at the beginning. It was a lot to learn, and it took me a lot of time, a lot of invested time in doing it and failing and not getting things right, and learning the correct way and watching videos and writing it all down so I wouldn't forget. That's how I remember things. A lot of times I'll watch the video and write down what's being said, and I'll look at that a bunch of times, and that's what I did to learn it. And it was hard. It was very hard. That's the hardest thing that I can think of that I've ever done.
You want me to go?
Sure.
I would say healing inner stuff.
Yeah.
It's probably the hardest. I can see why it's very tempting for people to just not work through past stuff, and just move on forward. But I couldn't do that. It's been a difficult run. I'm grateful for it.
Sure.
I'm grateful for the difficulty. It's stretched me in many ways.
Yeah.
But it's also been the hardest thing I've ever done.
Wow. Okay. Ness, what about you?
I kind of agree with Jen. Letting go of the abuser, letting go of the narcissist or the toxic person that's been influencing you or manipulating you or entrapping you somehow. And it was difficult for me because I had to work through the place where I had to realize I couldn't fix what was wrong with the person or the relationship, that it was just what it was, a abusive situation, and all you can do is get away from it. And that takes some doing. Sometimes it takes some strategic planning. But leaving relationships like that and healing has been they were very difficult. Not impossible, but yeah, very, very difficult.
Wow. Okay. Great. Glenn?
it's a no-brainer, and I've said it before, and that is dealing with the situation between your mother and myself.
Oh,
That is extremely difficult, which was, if I'll tell you a little story,
sure.
which happened yesterday, which really confirmed that I'm still dealing with it. I got invited to lunch by the church congregation yesterday.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Woo!
So I went, okay, and I was just talking to the lay preacher guy there, talking with him, and I was just saying, look, one of the reasons I came in the first place was I remember a conversation between your mother and myself in which she asked me would I be willing to go to church with her.
Yeah.
You might recall that, Cripps?
Sure.
I'm not sure. Okay. And I said, I'll take you to the front door, but I won't go in.
Oh wow. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and I said to the lay preacher, I made a mistake because I was thinking more about myself than how much it meant to her. And I said, I definitely made a mistake. If I had my time over again, I would go in.
Oh.
I said it probably took me 25 years to go into a church afterwards,
Yeah.
which is true. And I said, yeah, I should have done that. But what hit me was how raw it was to even say that. It was very
Wow.
emotional and raw.
Yeah.
So it's still there, absolutely.
Wow.
So it's not that easy to deal with for me.
Okay.
It's hard.
Yeah.
So
Well, thank you. It takes a lot to share that, I'm sure, because it sounds like it's a little bit of a regret, and regret is
it's not. It's just what it is. I think we all get to a certain place when we get down the line that maybe we see things that
yeah.
we've done from a different viewpoint,
Yes. Yeah.
and
I
on
agree.
reflection realise that maybe we were just too self-focused and really not considering how, like I said, how important it was. And I never thought, well, I was more so focused on, I'm not going to do this because I'll be a hypocrite. But then I realised the other week when I went into the church, I didn't feel like a hypocrite.
Oh.
Even though, and the fact that I'm accepted as an atheist
Right.
in that church
Sure.
made it. That was a wake-up call because I was expecting, the big pushback.
Sure.
I didn't want to go in preconceived, but I thought, well, this is high church sort of stuff. What's going to happen here? But in fact, it's been the total opposite.
Wow.
So
That's a wonderful surprise in my opinion, that they're treating you like that, because it could have been the opposite story. The minute you said you're an atheist, you got a lot of negative response to that.
no, I've actually given and received respect all across the board.
Oh, I know. I'm saying it could have been
Absolutely, yeah.
the other way.
It could have been. I could have felt the vibes coming to me. Well, you
Right.
don't belong here. But no,
Right.
that's not. That is not what I have received at all.
I think that's wonderful. I think that says a lot about that particular church and the people in it. I think that's
It's
beautiful.
impressive, and I felt comfortable to be able to say that yesterday to the guy. But even when I could feel myself losing it.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, just let it go. Just
Right.
be yourself. Be vulnerable. That's
Sure.
what it was.
Wow.
So
Thank you, Glenn. I
Okay.
appreciate you sharing
Thanks.
that. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah. All right. Is that everyone for that one? We have time for one more, and then I want to make the plea for content sharing, and then we'll finish up.
All right, cool. This one's going to be a funny one, maybe. Could be
All
really
right.
boring. Could go either way. Have you ever bought anything from a TV infomercial?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, you have?
More than one thing. Yeah.
Seriously?
Not
What
a
was
bunch.
what was the weirdest thing you got? Was it a mop?
No, it wasn't a
Ginsu
mop.
knives?
No, it was I forget the name of it, but it was some kind of spray that they advertised back in the 80s and 90s that was supposed to be better than WD-40. I can't remember the name of it. That sucks. But yeah, it was a spray, and I also bought a subscription to Agatha Christie's Mysteries subscription books. and I was probably 14, and I got into mysteries for a while. Ellery Queen Minute Mysteries and magazines and books and things like that. And I thought it was a great idea to get Agatha Christie's books sent to my house. And I called them up, and they gave them to me. And you're supposed to be 18, and nobody asked me, so I got them. And then I got in trouble, of course, and I had to have my parents cancel it after that. But yeah, those are the two things I remember ordering. I think there were a few more. But yeah, infomercial for Agatha Christie's subscription, one a month, one book a month.
She was like crime detective.
Yeah, kind of like
Typewriter.
that show that old people like, Murder, She Wrote. Kind of that sort of deal. Miss Marple, and
Huh.
was a woman detective that would solve mysteries and crimes. It's what Murder, She Wrote was based on, basically.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So, 10 Little Indians is one of the ones that I got that I actually got a chance to read. I've read a few more, but it wasn't based on. But it was about all these people that meet at this rich person's house, and they wronged them in some way, and they're invited to this big fancy house dinner and all that, and then they started dying one by one.
Sounds like Clue.
Yeah.
Well, I'm kind of relieved because for some reason, when you first said Agatha Christie, I was thinking romance novels, and I was a little bit embarrassed for you.
No.
I was like, wait,
No.
okay, wrong one. Those are like the Harlequin novels.
Yes. Well, I did get in trouble for that too. Or the library.
No, don't go there. No.
What?
No, I'm just joking. Good.
The library in Gladwin was giving away free books. And so I got like 5 boxes worth of books, and some of them I snuck in there were the Harlequin ones. Obviously, I wanted to, read that stuff. And of course, I got caught, and my dad made me throw those books away. He was very, very angry that I would try to read that sort of thing. I get it. That's a parental move. I shouldn't have been reading that stuff. I mean, it's not porn, but it's close enough, I guess. Heaving bosoms and all that.
All right, keep it rated G.
Well, you're censoring me. Am I being silent? I feel like I'm being silenced.
I have never ordered anything off of infomercial, but I did. Me and my friend Whitney from my other story and another friend, Jim Bob, we like prank called one of the home shopping networks because they were selling. Do you guys remember those? It was like a wire tree that had like crystals hanging from it. Do you remember those? The metal wire tree. It's like 8 inches tall, vaguely. Yeah. Anyway, they were kind of popular late 80s, early 90s. And one had like clear crystals on it. And he called and was wanting to order the ice tree. Like he was talking to her about how he thought it was ice that was growing on this metal tree. And the lady was getting really frustrated with him, trying to tell him it's rocks. And he's like, no, it's not. It's ice. And it just was ridiculous, hilarious. But I have never ordered anything from infomercial.
Okay. Yes?
No, I haven't, but I've purchased things that I've found in stores that had previously or currently had infomercials going.
Yes.
I
Same
have
here.
The copper baking sheets. I love them. Get them.
Nice.
They're great. One of the few things that's actually worth the hype, in my opinion, from things that as seen on TV. And you can trim them to any size that you want to fit any pan. I love them. I use them all the time.
Wait, so what does it do?
It comes in like a roll. They're copper baking sheets, and they distribute the heat more evenly. And I've used mine for years. Love it.
Nice. Cool.
And we.
Uh-oh. Tell us.
I have ordered. I had co-conspirators in on it with me, but I'll just say I won't say who the other guilty parties were, but we ordered This was back in the day before they got rid of CODs, where you could just order stuff and have it delivered to somebody. So back in the good old day of CODs, we ordered this fancy cocktail ring off of QVC and had it sent to somebody. So
okay,
if that counts, there you go.
Sure. Sure.
I'm guessing they do have. I'm guessing they do have infomercials in Australia. Home Shopping Network and infomercials.
Yeah, they do have shopping channels on the satellite TV and all that kind of stuff. But no, I don't buy anything. But Sandra, she's a nightmare. That's why she's not allowed to have a credit card with her brain being cooked. Like she signed up. She'll say to me, she sees it on Facebook.
Yeah.
Can you get me this brand chunky orange marmalade or this particular brand of something? I said, bloody hell, here it goes.
Yep.
You know, just like, where did you get this from? Oh, it said it on Facebook. I said, do you believe what they tell you on Facebook? Get real. You know, she signed up, when she had a credit card, she signed up for Audible. On the 1 month trial, she had to put a credit card in. Sure enough.
Audible's
then she
great.
forgot about it.
Yeah.
Because, but what they do is they keep, unless you physically stop the trial, they just keep paying for it. And I looked at the credit card bill after about 12 months. I went, ballistic, what's this garbage? And then I said, you're banned.
You're banned. Audible is awesome. I love Audible.
She can't use it. You know,
wow.
She can't hardly, concentrate. Unfortunately for her, she can't concentrate to read stuff for more than a few minutes. So it's not going to work. So she gets the whims, and that's where they make people money. I think you see it, you want it, then you regret it.
Oh wow.
Yep. Yeah. It's just like all of those things you can buy at the register while you're waiting in line. It's like all that crap.
They stick the Mars bars right in front of you, and they make
Impulse.
100% on them.
Yeah.
Yep. Impulse buys.
Yeah.
That's it.
Alan says, remember late fees on VHS?
Oh my gosh.
To the fees on everything and stuff. Yeah. Yes, I do remember the fees. You'd rent something and then you'd, delay taking it back, and then you go in to rent something else. And they say, oh, you've got some such and such, and your fees are, sometimes the fees were more than you could have bought the tape. You could have paid cash for the tape and owned it over those fees. Yeah, that's ridiculous. Anyway, we've reached the end of our broadcast, so I'm going to mention again what we mentioned for those of you that didn't get a chance to hear. We are asking for your help with ideas for the broadcast, so you can help contribute in a couple of different ways. If you have an idea for the broadcast, you just have a topic that you'd like to hear us discuss on True Story Live, please submit your ideas. If you would like to write up a story that you personally experienced on whatever topic, doesn't have to be what we think it would be. It can just be your story. Please submit those and give us permission to read it out loud on the broadcast and have a discussion about it. That would be great. If you want to do a write-up for the broadcast and have us do a show on it, we're open to that as well. And don't worry if you've never done a write-up before. We'll help with that in whatever way we can. Or if you just have an idea of what you want to do for a write-up and don't want to write it, submit the idea to us and we will handle it from there. So pretty much we're just asking for your ideas for topics and things moving forward with TSL. We would really appreciate it. Anyone want to add anything to that? Okay. Okay, so everyone put your email in there. So we'll put our email addresses in there. You can send it to any one of us. Looks like Nez already did. So I'll put mine in there, but I'll say it out loud too. The channel's email is truestorylive.crips@gmail.com. So I do check them. So if you send something there, I will respond at that email address. And It can be, like I said, it can be topics for the show. If you want to do a write-up, let us know, and we'll set it up for you. No problem whatsoever. And we would greatly appreciate anyone's comments or feedbacks, ideas for things for us to cover. Okay?
All right.
All right. So I'll say goodnight first. Thank you guys for being here for this card game tonight. And we'll probably do this again next week. We'll find out if Glen's going to be able to be here with us or not. But we'll resume the series that Glen is writing when he feels ready. So until then, either we'll do a write-up between the three of us, the other three of us, or we'll do another show like this, like a game night or something like that. Or the other possibility is if you have ideas for a topic for next week. I mean, there's a time clock on it. You have, like, I would prefer that if you have an idea that you get it to us by Saturday, so we have time to put it together. That'd be fantastic. Earlier is better. But shoot an email to one of us about your idea for a topic, and we'll cover that next week. So we want to move on this fairly quickly, but if you don't have an idea that quickly for next week, we'll take them whenever they come. Okay. So good night, everybody. Thanks for being here with us tonight, and saw a lot of new people in tonight. Alan 62 is one of them. You're very welcome. I hope you come see us again. And I'm scrolling up to see who else. John Boy Art was new tonight. I haven't met them before, so we're glad you're here. And of course, a lot of regulars. I'm not going to scroll all the way up to the top because I think some people have taken off. But if you're listening to playback, thank you for listening as always. And we hope to see you guys next week. Sunday on another episode of True Story Live. So have a great week. Good night, and take care, and God bless. Jenn, take a minute to say goodbye to the peoples, please.
All right. Good to see everybody in the chat, especially old friends that we haven't seen in a while. Brenda, if you're still hanging out, great to see you. Glad you popped in. Really, really enjoyed tonight's discussion with the cards, and really interested to see if anybody has any topics that they'd like us to discuss.
Yep.
And any directions they'd like the show to go to, to go into. I can't talk. Anyway, have a great night, guys. Good sleep. Have a great week, and we will see you next Sunday.
Okay. Thank you, Jenn. Glen, if you could take a minute and say goodbye to the peoples.
Hey, my mouse got stuck. Good night, everyone. Thanks for coming. Don't know about anything paranormal tonight, but no. So hopefully be here next week. If not, we'll see what happens.
Okay.
Might be driving on the road. Who can say?
Yeah. Well, we'll do whatever you need, and of course, we always hope that you're here, but understand if you can't be.
Yep, I have to put Sandra first, so we'll have to see where she's at, see if I can go anywhere.
Okay. Yeah.
As usual.
Got it. Thanks, Glen.
Sure.
Last but not least, Marisa, if you could, if you have any closing comments about tonight, please make them, and say goodnight to everybody and close us down if you don't mind.
Not at all. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, everybody, for coming. And yes, we do encourage and hope that you will submit ideas, suggestions, your own stories and life experiences. We would all appreciate the input, and love to get some shows that you've given us the information and impetus to move forward and do those kind of shows that you're suggesting. And just a reminder, I'm the one on panel who is more than happy to take your experiences. First of all, to take your testimonies. I'm happy to do that. If you have you want to talk about what Jesus has done for you, miracles you've seen happen, testimonies like that, please bring it on. We'd all love to hear it. And I'm the only one on panel who's had experience with paranormal, cryptid, stuff like that. You want to talk about your dogman encounter, you want to talk about the shadow creatures you've seen, anything like that, you're not going to surprise me or shock me a bit. So don't be afraid to share those stories if you want to share them I'm open to that as well. Looking forward to next week, whatever that may be, whether it's a write-up from Glenn or any one of us or ideas from one of you. We're sure to have a good time and a good conversation. Thank you for everybody being here. Thanks to everybody who watched the chat without participating. And thank you to everybody who caught the replay. And I hope you do take a moment to share the stream out on your social media. Thank you, everybody. You have a good day or a good evening, depending on where you're at. God bless you all. And we'll see you next Sunday, right here on True Story Live.